Episode 4 of Futurama, Love's Labour's Lost in Space, was the first Leela-centric episode. We saw the introduction of the fan favourite Zap Brannigan and his grumbling assistant Kif Kroker, the introduction of Nibbler, who was far more prominent than we initially realised, plus one of the... I think this is the first... this is definitely the first time they explore an alien planet. Obviously we have the moon in the series has landed, but this is the first time we're on another planet encountering alien races. We visit this kind of Starfleet satire in the Democratic Order of Planets dupe. Zap Brannigan is our kind of exaggerated Shatner-esque, more like William Shatner than Captain Kirk. But he also reminds me of, I don't remember the character's name, but in the film, well, I know it via the film Heavy Metal, but in the comic magazine Heavy Metal, there is this character, this horrible, spacefaring hero who's actually this genocidal maniac, but he was ultimately given credit for these heroic endeavors, even though he was a horrible fraud. There's that beloved moment in the Heavy Metal film where he's on trial for his crimes and then manages to get away with it. And Zap Brannigan reminds me of that, actually. I do wonder if the writers are familiar with the comics magazine or the film. Nevertheless, Love's Labour's Lost in Space. I'll never forget, I once saw this listed as... I saw a list on IGN, of all places. Like, this is back when I was...
IGN.
Back when I was quite young, like 11 or something, and they listed the top 25 Futurama episodes, and this was in the best episode of Futurama, and it's telling that number one was Amazon Women in the Mood. So obviously,
Really?
Yeah. So they obviously saw these kind of gender dynamic battle of the sexes episodes. It's like the peak of Futurama, which is kind of a trendy thing to do in the later 2000s, I guess. Probably
Amazon
or the
Women.
person writing this list is probably in their 20s.
That's a fun episode. It's nowhere near number one though.
I do like that episode. But nevertheless, I actually do think Love's Labours of those two episodes is very brilliant. I highlighted the first season. I think it's got an extraordinary script. Kind of ahead of its time insofar as it wants to deal with the, this kind of gender dynamic and Leela's internal struggle in dealing with loneliness and what Zap Brannigan's presence means for that. It's and then Brian Bender trying to make her feel bad about it, her feeling guilty. This is a very this is a somewhat topical episode, or somewhat, in a time wherein I guess you would say potential regret and apprehension over past sexual encounters is kind of a shame over sexual encounters in general is kind of it's a contentious issue, and Love's Labours is either really dated or really out of its time, depending on one's perspective, or just an episode of a television show, nevertheless. Terrific episode, I think. Do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, to be honest, I just think it's a funny episode. I mean, there is a sort of dynamic like you described, but really just seems like an episode that is going in for the laughs. And like you mentioned, actually, I think that it's good to acknowledge it's like the first Leela-centric episode. I noticed a few years ago watching season 1 that obviously the first episode is an introduction, and then you get a sort of more Fry-centric episode. In the second episode, it's about his view of the world, I guess, literally. And then the next episode is obviously a Bender-centric episode. And then, this one's a Leela-centric episode. I like that they took the time to set aside an episode for like each main cast member. That's what I always appreciated most about this one, and it's just a good Leela-centric episode, really. And Fry and Bender are giving supporting roles and don't really have a story at all. And in that process, they're just cracking great jokes, like the steam thing.
That's
and
hazard.
I suppose you can read more into it in a sort of societal commentary sense, but I always just saw that as I suppose just a great irony of Leela is that she's so confident in her like professional work and then so insecure in her personal life.
Yeah.
And Fry and Bender being like perpetual pushers of mockery and making fun, and just recognize that in Leela and sort of push that out of her because she's so much more competent than them at the professional side of their lives.
Yeah. I suspect that I don't know if the writers... Realistically, I don't know, actually, if the writers were intending, plausibly not even, intending for some kind of very deliberated commentary on double standards in sex/gender, because obviously you can imagine writers in the 2010 to 2015 onward doing that sort of thing.
It would just seem more pronounced though, like I just mentioned with Leela, and it just seems like it's really just describing her character rather than like describing a more in a more macro sense of society as a whole, or like the relationships between men and women as a whole. It just seems more specific to that character. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they've
It's a bit
composed.
classier, perhaps.
Oh, they've composed the episode as a series of mishaps involving Leela, and I think it could be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if the episode would be read now by some sort of, you'd see some video essay on YouTube of some younger woman.
Of anybody.
Well, like seeing how the episode, I don't know if they receive it positively or negatively, that's kind of beside the point, whether, what it indicates about how male writers wrote female characters at that time. Obviously, I'm not saying this is probably, I would imagine realistically the character's development was influenced by the actress Katie Sagal.
Sure.
I think voice actors do tend to, as actors on any show, have a lot to do with the development of their character.
Yeah,
so, and changing dialogue around. So I think a lot more goes into Leela than just whoever the sole credited screenwriter of the episode is, for example. But nevertheless, so I think Love's Labours now strikes me as an episode which could, be discussed in these sort of contexts. I'm not necessarily going to go there, but I look at it now and I'm just thinking, oh, there's people going to have a lot to say about this one. You know what I mean? That's the kind of impression I get from it. Whether they do, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe no one's actually done that. But if they haven't yet, maybe they may as well. That could be interesting, I think.
Yeah, it seems you find there's like everybody's just replicating everybody else's style on, let's say, YouTube these days with these internet video essay formats, and
they're very hit or miss.
And people will read things into every little thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's one out there. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a video essay on Nibbler pooping dark matter as some sort of like greater consequence thing that then ties into the third movie and then ties into the post, season 5 and 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, these examinations always just tie, I feel, they'll tie like plot threads in that were perhaps a production choice in an earlier part of the show, and then later on they have to like do a bit of mental gymnastics to weave like 2 and 2 together. Yeah,
they want to believe in the internal realism of the show so badly.
Like this sort of internal
consistency.
Structure. Yeah, consistency, yeah. When that's just not the nature of television shows.
No, and try as they may, Babylon 5 probably tried very hard to do that.
Yeah, even late after Futurama, a few years later, shows like Arrested Development try to do little things like that.
Oh, of course.
A seal in the background and hide things in various ways. But that seems like one of the earliest, at least in a sitcom sense, of like it's a conscious effort to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, I believe so. I'd imagine so.
And I think they had a pretty hardcore fan base, and they were the only people watching the show, and so But yeah, overall, this episode's just a lot of fun, really, and very funny.
Yeah. Excellent episode.
And Zap Brannigan, obviously, I think just the fact that Zap Brannigan is the antagonist is like, to me, that's why it's not a trying to be some sort of commentary on anything. He's such like a hyperbolic character,
Okay, yeah.
And it's just more for laughs, and I guess if he's going to represent anything, it's like the utter stupidity of and like arrogance of and bravado of someone who thinks they can just like the way he treats his staff and all the soldiers and stuff. To them, they're just toys or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously he does a bit of that with Leela and the oafish nurse. And the only way she sort of like submits, I guess, is through like pity in the end. Mm-hmm. And even jokes about how that's all it takes. It just seems like such a character, and that's why Leela obviously hates herself so much.
Yeah.
It just seems like a cartoon, It's not some real commentary or anything. I don't feel, at least. It's just a really over-the-top, great sitcom scenario, I suppose.
I was going to mention, I think the episode has, 3 or 4 excellent settings for the
you mentioned a new
place.
planet. That's good. Yeah.
Obviously, I love the rings bar at the start is classic. He just say rings are cool.
I'd just say rings are cool.
I just love the idea that like John DiMaggio, Billy West, whomever this decided to put a British accent on this guy, and the cast probably loved it, and they were like, "Yep, do that."
Yeah. You just get some idea in your head that British people are the authority on what's trendy. It's a great one.
Just hanging out in like New York. And then of course the next bit was on the Nimbus for Dupe Mothership, which is interesting visual variety to see in these big Enterprise-esque ships, and then of course Virgon 6 itself. Yeah, good stuff. And we see more of the interior of the Planet Express ship than I think we have prior.
Yeah, other rooms in the engine room.
Yeah. I believe unless the series has landed, has more than I remember,
and
but
like
I don't think so.
I mentioned this episode does also introduce dark matter.
Yes.
And Nibbler pooping dark matter, which is a neat little thing.
Yeah. Yeah, all in all, I think this is a really strong episode and an indicator of season 1's strength, definitely.
Yeah, it's going to be a while before there's a bad episode.
I'm going to nominate, actually, this is possibly other than I Roommate, this is the second strongest of the first 4.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's really starting to sort of come into its own. Like we mentioned, the first episode is good, and then the series does land in the second episode. But, yeah, by this one, it's in a groove already, which normally takes a show 2 years to do.
Yeah. And I also want to mention, I think even I, and perhaps all of us, take for granted how three-dimensional Leela came across by this episode.
Oh, easily, yeah. Leela was always one of my favorite characters. She's, just a three-dimensional...
Just like a realistic, like someone you would meet, you know what I mean? Obviously without the eye and the orphan and the circumstances, but like very believable circumstances.
I was seeing that before when you were talking about like the gender dynamic thing. Like I've met heaps of women who are like, if they do something like that, you know, say sleep with a Zach Brannigan-esque type, they're like, oh, I feel so bad, you know, the same way Leela would. It's very real.
Yeah, it's probably Katie Seagal like helping to write that character, I think.
Yeah, it must be.
I would assume.
Yeah, who knows? Katie Seagal seems like a smart lady. I mean, she was married to Al Bundy for however many years though, so maybe not too smart.
She was in a pop / rock group called the Group with No Name.
Oh, really?
In the late 70s.
I
think they had a one-hit wonder. I don't know if they're worth listening to.
It's a weird novelty aspect.
Yeah, it's like some power pop thing. I'm not certain.
Oh wow, what, like the Pretenders with Katie Seagal?
Oh, not the Pretenders. I mean, I don't think it's that good. Is Speaker just attack her? I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. I wonder if that picked up.
Anyway, anything else we need to add?
Nah. Good episode. Watch it.
That was a good run. All right, thanks everyone.